Welcome to Connected by Community. My name is Ann Thompson, Wealth Advisor. Connected by Community is brought to you by Ballantine Capital Advisors. We try to connect our community with different small businesses, personal endeavors, nonprofits, and hobbyists. Today, we are joined by Bobby Clarke with Five Forks Athletics down in Simpsonville, South Carolina. Thank you, Bobby, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Appreciate your time today.
Glad to be here.
So let's start off the conversation by, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised there. I spent 4 years in the Air Force during the Vietnam War era. After that, I kind of moved around with a lot of different kind of jobs and eventually ended up in New Jersey.
We have that in common.
Yeah, from there, the company that I worked for, Sealed Air, moved me and my wife to down here to Greenville. Actually,
wow.
I live in Simpsonville.
Yeah.
And so I've been here since 2008, and I love it here.
Great,
yeah, it's great.
This is now your home, and you're staying, and you're retiring here, and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, I retired from Sealed Air in 2017.
Yeah.
And I have a part-time job as a coach at Five Forks Athletics.
Oh, well, what made you come out of retirement and start coaching?
Maybe I could just sort of take a step back here.
Yeah.
I started my real fitness journey in 2013. My primary care physician would bug me every year, said, you have to get off the couch. You have to start doing stuff, right? So in 2013, I took him up on it. I got a personal trainer at the sports club in Simpsonville. I'll never forget my first workout. I had to go home and sit down for like 2 hours. It was terrible, but that's where I got my start. So after the sports club for a while, Five Forks CrossFit at the time opened a gym right up the street, about 2 minutes from my house. And I had heard about it, and I thought, let me give it a try. I walked into the gym the third day after they opened.
Yeah.
And I've been going ever since. So that's a little over 10 years ago.
Wow.
So I was working out there while I was working. And then around 2017, I started coaching. So when I retired, my coaching experiences there picked up. So that's kind of like how I got started up there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great movement into retirement, having kind of like another career to move into and really helping people in something that you love, right? Something that you didn't start doing until later in life because the doctor was like, if you don't move, you're going to lose.
Well, and, that's really true. And, when I was younger, I participated in sports. I always liked sports. And, I would periodically join a gym and do stuff, but was never really serious about it until I got into the CrossFit gym, or Five Forks Athletics as we're called today. That's when I really started to take it serious. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. As far as it's keeping, I'm going to be 75 in 2 months.
You do not look like you're 75.
And so
you look great.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I continue to do what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were working out before you started at Five Forks. What kind of brought you to Five Forks? What has kept you at Five Forks? What do they do differently than maybe other gyms or ones that you've used in the past?
I was home in 2013. This is after I started, working out, and I stayed with my brother and his and sister-in-law, and she was in a CrossFit gym in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
And she came home on a Saturday, and she was like, in her activewear, and she was soaking wet. And I'm like, where the heck were you, right? And she said, oh, I do this thing called CrossFit. So that's what really piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
And then when I came back home, I always think this is divine providence. There was a CrossFit gym literally opening up right up the street from where I live. So I joined, and I've been there ever since. And what you said is right. It's something that it's hard, but I really, really loved it. Okay.
Yeah.
What separates doing like CrossFit, for example, from other gyms, and I would never knock other gyms or the kind of fitness programs that anybody else does.
Right.
Because they're doing something, right?
Yeah.
I think what differentiates CrossFit from other types of gyms is actually what we do.
Okay.
It's what they call HIIT, high intensity.
Yeah.
But there's 3 modalities. We do what's called metabolic conditioning, which would be typically whatever workout we're doing that day. We do gymnastics, which can be pull-ups, hanging from rings, doing all kind of gymnastic movements, and weightlifting. So those are the 3 modalities that we do in CrossFit. The movements that we do, I think they're programmed, so when you come into the gym, you don't have to worry about what you're doing.
Okay, you're actually saying, hey, you're doing so many of these, so many of these, so many of these.
Right.
Is it a daily change?
Yes.
Okay.
It's constantly varied is the terminology that we use. What's constantly varied would be the workout we might do. So it's a full hour. One of the best things about what we do is when you go to like a local gym, for example, you're typically there by yourself.
Yeah.
Or you might be there in one of the classes that they conduct. You know, they have some classes that they conduct. But typically, you're on your own. So you're trying to figure out every day, what am I doing today? What's my programming today, right?
I do that. I'm doing that 4 days a week. I'm like, what am I doing today? All right, how much time do I need to spend on that?
Yeah. So our gym, it's a real community. Every class has people in it, right? And I've made so many friends. There's people in our gym that have gotten married. And when I started in our gym, nobody really had any kids. And now you wouldn't believe how many children are running around our gym. But it's a real community.
Right.
It's like an amazing a community of people, friends. There's so many different people there that sell homes. They do roofs. They're doctors. It's a great way to network yourself.
Yeah.
As far as even using their businesses, for example.
Right.
That's what I really like about our gym.
Yeah.
And we're not the only CrossFit gym in this area. There's a bunch. So those communities exist everywhere. CrossFit does.
Right. I have some questions because
Okay.
it said on your website that you are a master coach.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Okay, so before COVID, we actually had a master's group. So I had between 10 and 12 people that were over 55.
Okay, so kind of defining master's group is anybody over the age of 55.
That's how we defined it.
Okay.
There's other ways of defining that into
Right.
age groups. I started, actually, we most of these folks we got through a challenge a promotion that we had, a challenge
Yeah.
that was around eating and exercising.
Okay.
And a number of those folks wanted to stay on. And so that's when we formed this master's group. And we're doing CrossFit, but what's really nice about CrossFit or, what we do is you can always modify and scale everything that we do. So people
Great.
will look at a typical workout and they'll go, well, I can't do that, right? And it's like, yes, you can. And here's how I'm going to have you do that.
Right.
So you can scale everything so that people can actually do the movements. So with those folks that were 55 and over, we really started with the basics, right? And eventually I got them into doing pretty hard workouts. I got them into lifting weights. We do a lot of
Great.
weightlifting. And then, unfortunately, COVID hit, and that was the end of our master's programming.
But have you picked it back up since then?
No. Actually, we have another program in our gym called evoFIT.
That was another question that I had because I've never heard of evoFIT before.
And we're the only gym in this area that I know of that has the evoFIT program. It's kind of like CrossFit without the weightlifting.
Oh, okay.
So it's metabolic conditioning and it's a lot of gymnastics. So you're moving and it's real high intensity. So it's a 45-minute workout.
Yeah.
And usually about a 10-minute warm up and then about a 25-minute workout.
Okay.
And I don't do evoFIT, but I coach it.
Yeah.
And they work really hard. So that's typically what we'll do now is have folks that are a little bit older join that program. They seem to be pretty happy with that. And then if they want to come and do CrossFit, they can just come in and join, us doing CrossFit. The thing is, when you get older, again, like I mentioned, you sometimes have to scale what you're doing or modify. I like to use the word modify, right? So you're not lifting as heavy maybe, or maybe you struggle with pull-ups, so we give you another option to do so that you can do the workout.
I have struggled with pull-ups my whole life, so it doesn't matter that I'm over 50 now or when I was under 40, I still couldn't do a pull-up.
It's just something that you work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different muscles that you have to build up.
Yeah, typically, that's one of the really good things about CrossFit is as you age, if you're not moving, you're losing that muscle density and that bone density. And those things are really important as we get old. So if you're active, if you're moving,
right,
walking and stuff is good, but you need to be doing a little bit more resistance training, for example,
right,
to keep that muscle density, to keep that bone density, so that if you fall, you're not going to break your leg or your shoulder or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a big problem. You said you're in your 70s, so
I'm going to be 75 in March.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big, the one thing I worry about with my parents, and they're in their 80s, is them falling.
Yeah.
Falling and breaking something.
Right.
And,
the
breaking
reason,
a hip.
The reason that people fall is they lose their balance.
Right.
When you're doing what we're doing, you're not going to lose your balance. Like your balance might not be as good as it was when you were 20 years old. Right. And I know my balance isn't as good as it was. But if I fall, I'm not going to get hurt.
Right.
Because I know how to fall too.
Yeah.
But still, that's really important. Staying active, that bone density, muscle density is going to and balance is going to potentially keep you from breaking something. When people are really older, when they break something, that's usually like it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. So about a year ago, it was like exactly a year ago, New Year's resolution, my husband, who I think we ran a marathon back in 2000.
Nice.
And he kind of was done, stopped running and exercising completely since then. Well, in January last year, he decided his New Year's resolution was he always goes on a diet beginning of the year, drops 20 pounds, and then yo-yos back up. Well, he goes, I'm not going to do that this year. I'm going to start working out. And I have 2 daughters. We're just like, yeah, Dad, sure you are. We weren't very supportive, unfortunately. But true to, he did it. He has continued to work out, and, he's lifting weights. And I finally asked him months in when I saw that he wasn't going to quit doing his workouts. I said, what made you do that? What instigated you to finally start working out again? And he goes, I saw a video of somebody my age, like falling down or being on the floor and it being an effort to get back up. And he goes, well, that's not me. That's not me. So he said, I did it one day and it was an effort for me to get up. And he goes, I didn't want to be that person. So he goes, now I can do 40 sit-ups, 3 sets of 40, and do this and do that. And he's like, I don't have a problem getting up off the floor once I'm down. And I'm proud of him.
That's good.
He's doing great. But I try to keep in shape. I try to be active and always be working out at least about 4 days a week.
Good.
I love lifting weights. I think that's an important thing for everybody to do. Very important for women, especially over 40, just because going through menopause and everything, you have the bone loss that you have to contend with. So lifting weights kind of helps with that. But at Five Forks, you guys are down there, Simpsonville area, the Five Forks area.
We are at 405 Scuffletown Road in the Five Forks area of Simpsonville. Yes.
Okay. So are you looking, you guys have been in business for a while. Are you looking at opening any new locations?
No. We've been open for 10 years.
Okay.
Our original facility was up at the very end of Scuffletown and Woodruff Road. There's retail in there now.
Right.
The lease was up on that building, and the gym owners decided to build their own. So we're just down the street a little way. We've been open a little over 10 years. As far as that's kind of like not how the CrossFit model would work. Yeah, there are some gyms where they might have 3 or 4 in an area.
Yeah.
But we're just satisfied with what we have. We have a very large facility. You probably saw some pictures of it when you were looking at the website. And again, we have the 2 programs. We have around, we're getting close to 300 members.
Great.
Yeah. That's on both evoFIT and the CrossFit side.
So you have a lot of coaches working at Five Forks.
Yeah, we have, I think right now, 16 altogether.
That's a good amount of coaches. Now,
Right.
are a lot of them part-time or like you?
Yeah, most
Okay.
of them are part-time. My position, I'm salaried. I coach three times a week, but I fill in for people when they're on vacation or sick.
Right.
I do some master's programming, but we have we have like 16. The thing about doing CrossFit or evoFIT, I want to make sure I mention that the most important thing is that when people come in, that we make sure they're moving safely, that they don't get hurt. That's paramount to everything.
Good.
And then all of our coaches, they have at least what's called an L1 certificate, meaning that you went through that training, that CrossFit training. So you have all the fundamentals. I actually have what's called an L2, and it's more for on the coaching side.
Okay.
And so when you're running a class, you have to be watching like sometimes 25 people.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure they're moving safely, meaning like there's enough distance between their barbells, and that they're actually doing all the movements correctly.
Right.
That's really important because we don't want anybody to get hurt.
Oh, yeah. I was talking to one of the guys that works in our office, and he said his back was hurting because he was doing squats with heavy weight yesterday. And I'm like, ooh.
You know what? Like when I run a class, I ask everybody, are you okay today? Is there anything going on that I need to know about? And if somebody will say, yeah, I'm dealing with a shoulder issue or whatever, then I can make sure that we're not going to hurt that anymore, or they do something that's not going to use those muscles, for example.
Right. Modify that.
Modify, scale, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, do you guys have kid programs?
We do. We have what's called CrossFit for Kids. And that program is not running at the moment, but we run that a couple of times a year. And they actually were doing a couple of years ago or last year for toddlers.
Oh, wow.
So what's really interesting is, like I said, there's a lot of kids that are in the gym, and they see what their parents are doing, and they want to do it. They want to emulate. So it's a really good opportunity to get your kids involved at an early age.
Right.
Gets them ready for, soccer, gymnastics, whatever sport they might enter into. But we do have a CrossFit for Kids program. And, and we also have, in the morning, we also have childcare.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we have one class where we have childcare.
Oh, good. Now, how about like training athletes? Do you have special programs for maybe those kids in high school that are on a summer program and they're looking to do some additional athletics or personal training?
There's a couple of ways that we would approach that. One of them is just having them come in and just do the CrossFit classes.
Right.
Some of those students, they might have weightlifting going on in their own high school program, for example, or they might want to come in and work with us in personal training. So we will do personal training, one-on-ones, with whatever their goal is.
Okay.
Yes. And when we bring somebody on board into the gym, we'll try to have them go through evoFIT first. But if they really want to start on the CrossFit side and they don't have any CrossFit experience, we'll put them through, depending on their athletic ability, we'll put them through some personal training before we let them get into a class. Because, again, we want to make sure you don't get hurt.
Right. Well, that's great. It's common sense that sometimes people aren't very common about common sense.
Exactly. I still see it.
So you're protecting those athletes, whether they're 70s or 15
Yep.
teenagers,
Yep.
and doing a good job with a variety of different classes and environments that you're in. You have tons of coaches. Jonathan and Brittany Gunther are the owners of
Right. Jonathan
Five
and Brittany
Forks.
Gunther. We also have another partner. His name is Brad Holcomb, who lives up in North Carolina. Jonathan and Brad and Brittany and Brad's wife Melanie, they started the gym 10 years ago. So
Okay.
Brad moved to North Carolina because he got a job that he couldn't turn down.
That happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that he's still involved. So there's always like a signature question we ask people when they come in. And let me ask you, what makes you tick?
Well, my spiritual life makes me tick.
Okay.
I'm a Christian and I love Jesus Christ, and that's what makes me tick.
Fantastic.
You know, and then taking that spiritual side and giving it a physical side, that's everything.
Yep. And including that in your trainings and your coachings that you do.
Yes.
Good.
What's really nice is we have a pretty good community of people in our gym that are the same as me.
That's a great community down there in the Five Forks and Scuffletown Road area, and
Right.
a lot of neighborhoods going in. And
Yeah, it's
a lot of
amazing.
opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty, I guess, upscale these days. It's interesting to see the growth. It's interesting to talk to people who've lived there a long time when there
Yeah.
was nothing on Woodruff Road.
Yeah, all
Nothing.
farmland.
Right, right.
Well, good. Well, I guess welcome to South Carolina. You've been here for a
Since
couple of
2000
decades.
Yeah, 2008. My company moved us here.
Good, good.
So-
And you're loving it, and
Oh, it's amazing.
And you're not missing the snow that they might be getting up in Pittsburgh
No,
from all
or
this rain
Jersey.
we had yesterday.
Yeah, right. No, the quality of life here is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it here.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Bobby. It was a pleasure to talk with you. And thank you all for joining us at Connected by Community, brought to you by Ballantine Capital Advisors. Be good to your community, be good to yourselves, and we'll catch you next time.